indisputable fact is that David Campese is a world star, a bright and gleaming star in rugby's Milky Way. With tart contempt, he dismisses the ordinary and refuses to be bound by convention. Mediocrity is foreign to him. His is a delicious difference, and his gifts lift any game to a high and enviable plane. David Campese imposes his self-confidence on every game he plays. To see him in action, you witness the sweeter ethic of rugby.
David, when Australia arrived for the World Cup, I mean, they made no bones about it right from the start that they were out to win it. I remember Nick Farr-Jones saying on the very first day he arrived, "We haven't come here to go second." Were you that confident?
Yeah, I think it really, to me, demonstrated this year after the New Zealand game that, like, we beat them in Australia 21-12, I think it was, right. And 2 weeks later it was 6-3. And after that game, I knew that New Zealand were beatable. And from that day onwards, I kept on saying that we'll beat New Zealand in the World Cup.
And a lot of people have said you, in fact, play your best rugby in the UK.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I don't know what it is over there, but I think it's just you can feel relaxed over in Europe. You can go over there, have a good time, and train. I think because when you're away together for 6 weeks, I mean, you're there for a job. And you everything's concentrated on the job, training, and trying to win. And I think that sort of adds something special to rugby, especially to myself. When you're away with 26 other guys and you're out there to have a good time, and you know that you're there to win the Test matches or to win the World Cup, and you put everything into it. Yeah, I wanted to do 3 things this year. And I was doing 3 championships and 2 in the World Cup. And everything sort of went according to plan. And I was saying, right, the World Cup's my last time to play, and I think I just wanted to go out on a high note and say, right, look, I'm still, all you journalists have been giving me a hard time over the years, that I can still play it pretty well, and that was sort of an extra goal. And then when you arrive at the World Cup, the opening dinner, you find a magazine that's got a page about saying watch him fumble whenever you like, and that sort of inspires a bit more to say, right, I'll just go out there and prove that everyone's wrong, and if I want to play well, I can play well.
Horan, into space goes Roebuck to Campese, all the way David Campese.
And it did start to go well for you right from the first game. One thing I noticed, running onto the pitch against Argentina, Campo was last out. Has that become something of a superstition?
I don't know. I think it was when I first started, Roger Gould was last to run out, and I was always second last. When he left, it was me. So I don't know. I just like running out last for some reason. I ran out first with my 50th test against France in '89, and we lost, so that's the last time I'm doing that. But no, I don't mind. I think it's good just to run out, and I don't know, just feel something special when you do it all the time. I always get up. Tony Daly now, he's waiting for me to go because he wants to run out last. So there must be something about the run out last that gives something to a player.
And then to set the tournament off properly for you, you got the first try for Australia. Now, I know you don't see setting try-scoring records as being your whole raison d'etre, but it must have made you feel good.
Oh, I think it was one of the situations where Willie made the break and he threw the overhead pass, and really the defence of the Argentina was pretty poor because there was one guy in front of me and there was three guys inside me, and they just didn't know what to do. And I saw the gap and I just went for it. So really it was bad defence on their behalf.
It's the scrum then to Australia again. Pick up by Eels to Far Jones. The dummy into the gap there for Roback. Roback support from Opahengawe. Here's Campese, surely he's going to score. There goes the little goose step. Campese just short of the line. The first try from David Campese.
But does that sort of settle you down when you're going into something like the World Cup? You think, oh, well, I've got one under my belt.
No, not really. I think what settles you down every game is just to win the game. But firstly is to first touch the ball, to do something with it. Even if it's to kick it out or just to run or just to touch it, I think it settles any player down. One
of the things that you seem always to do is enjoy the rugby, even when you make mistakes. There was that kick into touch that went a bit wrong, and nowadays you can always have a bit of a smile about it.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about that, John, was that because we were against the winds, and I think one of the early kicks didn't go out, and Nick just said, I don't care as long as it goes out. I said, righto. So I've kicked it out and it's come off the side of my boot. And I looked at Nick, we both laughed because he mentioned about going. I said, well, it went out. So, I mean, it's just a funny situation, yeah.
But it is one of the things that I've noticed, having seen you play a great deal over the whole of your career, and recently you do seem totally at one, that there are going to be some mistakes that are going to be mixed in there with the great moments.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean, it's, as I said, like, no one's perfect on the football field. Things do go wrong, and, you know, I've made a lot of mistakes over my career, and so you just got to accept it. Now, I think when everything goes right and you can sense that you feel with your feet and everybody is behind you, I think it sort of gives you a bit more confidence, and even if it goes wrong, you can see the funny side of it. And I think it was just, you know, in this World Cup, especially the Argentine leaning against the post, I knew that, oh well, you know, we're ahead, and I knew they weren't going to score a try, so why not just sort of get there and have a bit of a rest.
That was a good opening game for you personally as well. I mean, you got your initial try, and there was more to come. The second one was a bit special too. Yeah,
well, the second one was in the Argentines 22. And we've got this movie called Froggy, which we've used for many years, Mark Eller's era and all that. And what it is, Michael Liner goes across and dummies to the inside centre, straightens up, and then I come inside the outside centre. And half the time the opposition sort of, because it's so close line, they've got to come man for man. They just stand and don't know who's coming where. And
right.
It's worked. Majority of the time, I think like 9 times out of 10, I think we've used it. It's worked.
Far Jones delivers the ball to Liner. The dummy in on the burst is Campese. So David Campese gets his second try of this game then to extend Australia's lead once again. And from David Campese, it was simplicity itself.
And then you had a big hand in Tim Horan's try as well.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a mess actually, because it was supposed to come down the blind side, which was John Eales was supposed to pass it to myself, no, to Nick Farr-Jones, I think, who was going to pass it to me. What happens, John Eales just got it and thrown in the air, and I was just saying, oh, well, I'll catch it, and I ran down behind the scrum. I saw the 5'8" in the scrum, there was a big gap, so I just went for it. And there was Timmy, and I think he did a lot of the hard work because he turned inside 2 guys. He went out, they both turned, and he turned back inside, so he beat 3 men to score the try, so he did. I just started the move, and he did the initial and the final bit by doing the hard work, 15, 20 metre run, so it was pretty good.
Opahengawe again stands off, but that's a bad pass by Eales, but it is Campese. Here he goes, David Campese, looking for his 3rd try, getting support from Horan. Tim Horan going through, fine try by the centre.
It's a great try by Australia, but it's purely down to the genius of David Campese, because in fact their attempt to do something on the short side wasn't very good at all. A poor delivery, and he recovered the situation.
You've got that tremendous ability to turn on the pace when you see a half chance and just suddenly inject a lot of pace into the movement. I mean, turned 29 in the World Cup, getting an old man. Have you noticed any
Thanks, John.
diminishing of it?
Well, I think that you know, I try and tell the guys, especially the team in Italy, in the Australian side, that if you're going to run at the defence, you've got to run fast and straight, because if you do that, they haven't got time to think who should they tackle. They've got to tackle, you know, the persons with the ball. And every time I've got it, I just try and, if I see something, I'll go for it. I won't hesitate. And I think a lot of players might hesitate, oh, what should I do here to support? Should I run or pass? If you just go for it, they've got to try and tackle you. And if you do that, the opposition sort of, if the whole back line is going at one pace and you inject yourself, you're going to go past the first line of defence and get behind them. And I think that's what the object of a lot of the moves are, not to score, but to make the advantage line and get behind the opposition and try and cause chaos so we can just keep on going.
The second game against Western Samoa, completely different to most things you must encounter. There's been no rain on the east coast of Australia apparently for 12 months.
Definitely, yes.
And you don't get too much in Italy.
Definitely not. A lot
But
of fog.
Pontypool, it absolutely came
Yeah,
down.
it was one of those games where, you know, we were very fortunate. We arrived in England, the sun was shining, it was just like leaving Australia, and the opening game was great and sunny. Then we went to Pontypool against Samoa, and it was totally different because we hadn't trained in wet conditions, and there was a lot of complaints about the ball, which I found, well, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that the players were complaining because they couldn't handle it properly. But you know, we knew Western Samoa were going to be very tough, and obviously any team in the World Cup, they wanted to come first or second. They weren't trying to win one game or whatever. And we were probably only two teams. Well, we were the teams that won a game each.
That's right. I mean, they were on a roll because they just beaten
right.
Wales.
Oh yes, definitely. So we knew it was going to be very hard, and we had a few changes in the side. But you know, I don't think we played very well that day at all. I think we just sort of, because we were Australia, we thought we were going to win it. So we just went out there and.
But I mean, it gave us a chance to see another side of your play. Now you play in Italy most of the time, nearly all the time at fullback, and you played a lot of your rugby in Australia at fullback. And in fact, is it still true to say that you prefer fullback as a position?
Oh, definitely. I think it's Bob Dwyer is logic behind myself and Edgerton on the wings. We're all fullbacks, so we can play, rotate positions. There's no problem. We can sort of fit in easily instead of being a winger. I mean, I can go back to fullback if there's trouble or whatever. So, oh yeah, I still like playing fullback. I think it gives you an opportunity to do a lot of things. It's instead of just getting the ball and trying to beat a man, you can counter-attack, or you can kick, or you can do what you like.
Yes, a lot of space that you can utilise, particularly with your eye for openings and your pace.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And in that match, I mean, they gave you a fair bombarding at times.
I think every game. Yeah, I think it's for some reason before the World Cup, obviously, and a lot of the comments were that if they kicked to me, they were fairly safe because I either dropped the ball or I was no good with the ball behind me.
But where did that come from?
I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, that's really a nonsense because
that's what they wanted to do, and I mean, you know, the only way to do it is to prove them wrong. So, but you know, I had a few opportunities to show. I mean, in the second half, there's a lot of kicks that you know, they kicked a goal, and I think there was one bad kick I made, but there was another good one where I kicked it a fair way, and especially in the conditions, you know, because I can sort of kick the ball the same as Michael Lyon a long way if you time it right. But also, I mean, like when you do something like that, put a bomb up, you got to chase, and you know, everyone thought that my tackling was bad, and I didn't find it that bad at all. You know, if I wanted to do it, I could do it, and there's a couple of times I just put the bomb up and followed through and hit the guy. You know, like any player should, but when they see things like that, oh, he can tackle, can't he?
The one real moment of crisis, perhaps, for Australia started in the Western Samoan match. Nick Farr-Jones taking that bang.
Yeah, Nick's been very fortunate over the years not to get injured, and when he actually got injured, we're going, oh no, you know, that's what we don't need. The day, like in Pontypool, pouring down rain, and like Western Samoa putting the pressure on, and but we find that, you know, when Nick went off, that Peter Slater is a great player. I think he's a fantastic player. We just seem to take it 10 or 15 minutes to sort of like him to fit into the things to go back to the way they were. But obviously, you know, there was a lot of speculation about Nick, his knee, and you know what if he'll play again and whatever. But you know, I mean, that's obviously that moment you think about, and after he goes, obviously, right, we've got to do a job to do. So, and we had a great physio and a great doctor.
the way that you devastated them in Brisbane in the summer?
Yeah, it was very difficult, especially when you beat a team by 60 points about 2 months earlier, and then you've got to play them again. And as I said, that a lot of times you just think that you've got to go out there and everything will happen. And it proved the first 30, 40 minutes that we didn't play well at all. We were just sort of waiting for the gaps to open up instead of trying to make it happen. And you know, I was just getting a bit frustrated because nothing was going right.
I mean, I'm sure Bob Dwyer and Bob Templeton, Nick, were all saying, look, they're back in Cardiff, you've got to forget about that. But you just can't, can you?
No, obviously not. It's obviously, they say, you know, wait until you get to Cardiff. And we you know, I've been there a few times before. And the thing was that we went out there, we knew it was going to be difficult. And it's just one of those things, you can't really say why, but you just go out there, you know you're the better team, you know you should win, but nothing goes right because you're just trying to rush, or the opposition are a lot keener, and they're probably obviously a lot better than what they were in the summer. And you just try and go out there and do the best you can.
But after a messy start where things wouldn't go right, it did start to come, and there was a lovely try that you were involved in, showing that you don't only go looking for work from set pieces coming into the middle, you can also do it off the cuff. Yeah,
I think it was one of the situations where we're in their 22 and I hadn't touched the ball. And I could see that the defence, and there's a big gap inside Michael Liner, so I came inside Michael and I straightened up, then started to go back outwards, and then, because when you do that, when you come inside, the defence seems to halt a bit. And then when you do go out, they cover the fence from the inside, will chase me. But the outside guys will say, will they get him or not? So if they stop, and then like, it was fairly just hands out the back line and try. It's fairly easy actually, didn't look that difficult for me. But I mean, it's up to there was like, there was no injection actually going forward, as I said before. You've got to actually go past the advantage line, behind their defence. And when that happens, you know, things are easy and the support follows through.
As they go to ground, Australia looking then for the second phase ball. Lots of bodies in there preventing the ball coming back. Now it does for Liner. Bringing Campese into play. There's an overlap here and surely a try. Marty Roebuck, the fullback.
And there was a situation later in the game where I felt a bit sorry for Arthur Emier. I mean, you must have been in the same situation as he was. Peter Slattery was close to him, going through, but he had you to worry about as well.
Yeah, I think people got to realise, you know, the winger's job is, especially my job, if I'm out there, is not to let my winger score. That's my job on the field. And Arthur couldn't do much. I mean, I think it was the defence of the back row. They didn't know what to do because Slater was a 10-metre gap and he just went for it. And it was probably the easiest try Slats will ever get. But, you know, the winger can't do much there. He's just got to watch me. And I'll do the same too. That's my job.
Except at times you will actually, realising that one is inevitable. If you don't, you make a decision, don't you? And you disobey your own rules, as it were.
Yeah, I think you can, obviously, if you can try and anticipate what's going to happen, come in off your wing and try and get the guy before he actually turns the pass. Or what you do is communicate with your number 8, tell him to get out, or someone to get across. It's very easy. I mean, a lot of times talk is very important. You know, a lot of people don't realise defence wins games for you, not attack, not scoring tries. And in that situation, I mean, you've got to communicate. And Arthur was sort of watching me all the time, and he didn't care about anyone else. And I think that's where you just got to try and communicate with number 8 or your back row.
Offengar is struggling. Beautiful pick-up though, and he can go off the line himself. So terrible blindside defending there by Wales on that occasion.
You're a great believer in an enormous amount of talking on the field, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I think the right sort of talking, yes, definitely.
Right, yes, communication with each other.
Definitely, but I think it's, you know, I kept on saying to the guys in the back line, in defence, second and third phase, we must talk. You've got to talk to say, here's my man. And things are easy. If you don't talk, it makes it very difficult because you can't read the other guy's mind. What's he trying to do in defence? If you talk, you say, righto, he knows, I know, it's easy.
That's a problem out here in Italy, isn't it? Not because of the language barrier, but they all talk in
talk
practice, but they won't talk at all in the game.
Definitely. They'll talk about what they did at work today, or if they saw a nice girl, or whatever. They won't talk about actual rugby on the field, and it gets very frustrating at times.
Missed out with the tries against Western Samoa. You don't like going more than one game without a try, so you had to get one in for yourself. What do you remember of that?
What happened there was I think it was about second and third phase ball, and by this stage, because we were going forward, it makes our job a lot easier in the backs. And I think Noddy took it up with Timmy Horan, and Marty Roebuck hit the ball straight. And what happened was I could see that the fullback was going to tackle Marty, and Arthur was sort of trying to shadow me. And as he turned out, I actually came straight on the ball inside him. So Arthur's looked out. By that time, I'd gone past him. And as I say, if you do it at pace, the winger's got no chance. And it was just one of those things of just trying to cut inside your man. Looks like you're going to go on the outside and then cut inside.
Yes,
So
you were able to turn him
Yeah.
one way and then go even before you got the ball.
That's right. I mean, as I said, it's very important that the forwards do all the work by going forward and getting their defence in disarray. And what happened when you got four guys running very fast at the opposition? It's very hard to stop.
Phil Kearns playing scrum half, gets a good pass out to Liner. Horan, into space goes Roebuck to Campese. All the way, David Campese.
You use that change of pace even before you got the ball a great deal. I noticed watching you playing fullback, you were able to sit very deep and then suddenly you really turn it on.
Yeah, well, I try not to run faster than the ball carrier, obviously, but you try and time the ball, time you run, and a lot of times that I'll just sort of jog until I actually see a gap and then go. That's why I'll concentrate a lot of training on, say, 10, 15, 20-metre sprints, because that's all you need is to get past the opposition. And in that situation, poor Arthur just didn't know what was happening, and you know, Marty sort of came to the full back. He sort of slowed down, and like that's when you hit the pace. And from there, it's easy.
And Noddy Liner having set that try up for you, you returned the compliment a bit later on.
Oh yeah, I think it was in our 22 we won a ball. Jeff Miller won the ball for us, and the forwards ran over, and Slats gave it to me, and off I went. And as I said, if you're in those situations, second or third phase, if you're running quickly, their defence was just shattered. And I ran in and I saw Jones. I tried to come in and out to try and stop their defence from going wide, and there was Noddy. And by the time I got to Noddy, he had a lot of work to do. And he said, don't ever do it to him again because it was too far from the run. But like, he had Willie outside him. There was 3 or 4 guys waiting for the ball, and like, it was great that the support there. And so all you do is try and get in a position where you can give the ball carrier, well, the ball carrier, eventually the clear run to the line, and off you went.
Jeff Miller, though, coming away for Australia. He's had a fine game for them this afternoon, and they're queuing up to handle in this move. Campese, again, injects the pace, sidesteps, gives the pass to Liner. He can go all the way himself. He's got Oparengawe should he need him. He doesn't need him.
Group, no real problems through there. And again, there must have been danger of a bit of complacency against Ireland, because there they were in the quarterfinals, but they were certainly one of the weakest nations, so people thought, going into the quarterfinals.
Well, that's right. I think that people got to realise there's no such thing as a weak nation.
Right.
Ireland proved that against Australia, but we were a bit worried, especially a lot of the forwards, because they didn't know how to scrum against Ireland, because they hadn't played them for a while. Like New Zealand, you know how they do and where they do go and whatever, and England was the same. But when you come against Ireland, it was like a new era for some of the guys in the front row, because they were very young and they hadn't packed against them, so they didn't really know what to expect. But we knew it was going to be very hard. We played in '84 in the Grand Slam, and 16-9 we won, and we knew it was going to be very, very tough, and we knew that they don't give up. They keep on going. So we warned a lot of the guys how it would be.
Yes, they're a bit like Argentina in a way, and however things are going away from home at Lansdowne Road. At home, they're going to be very tough.
Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of emphasise the crowd a lot. You know, I don't think that's got anything to do with it personally. I think if you go out there and play and you play well, you're going to win. Who cares if there's 50,000 going for the opposition? It doesn't worry me. Obviously, it might worry other people. But, you know, obviously playing in front of your home crowd lifts some teams, and obviously did to Ireland. But then again, I think when you had Neil Francis, you know, we were going to give him the Australian jumper after the game because he was on the outside line out all day. But, you know, credit to them, they played very well and they stuck it to it. They, you know, really gave us a hard time.
And again, it was a good try-scoring day for David Campese. The first one, a set move.
Yeah, it wasn't really a set move that worked. It was one of the moves where we call it a nest move, where the ball goes from Michael on into Tim Horan, who straightens and crosses with Jason Little, and I cut on inside. But what happened when Nick got the ball was the ball went backwards. Nick had to pass it, running backwards. So everyone was standing still, and I was standing right behind Tim Horan. And it was like a very slow switch. And then I just took off, and there was the gap. And then I saw that Simon, the winger, was coming across in defence, so I just stepped him because he was running very quickly on the angle. Simon Gagan stepped in the angle, and I stepped around him and under the post. It wasn't a great move, but it worked, so I'll take it.
Well, that's what sometimes happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're just wrong-footed for a moment because something goes wrong, the defence are as well.
Well, that's right, because everything stopped. I mean, it's very, if somebody just goes through the gap. And as I said, when I got it, I took off. And you just get past, as I said again, behind the opposition's defence. And from there on, it's really, it makes the job a lot easier.
Liner then to Horan. Campese popping up in midfield. Tremendous run by Campese. Oh my word, what a superb try by David Campese. So with some 16 minutes gone of the first half, the genius of Campo. His 44th international try, the world record holder, and my word, superb play by the Australian.
And my memory of that game was very much feeling that Australia were their superior side, and yet you couldn't turn that superiority for a long, long time into points.
Yeah, we'd get 6 points ahead, and we'd give a stupid penalty away and back down to 3. And right through the game, the way that the Irish kicker was kicking, like he wouldn't miss a goal. And, you know, it was like that whenever we ran the ball in the backs, we'd score a try, and then all of a sudden it was like they'd be only 3 points behind. So, oh, this couldn't be right. We were the better team, and we attacked all the day, but nothing was seeming to working for us to get like 6 or 9 or 12 points ahead. We couldn't make another 6 points ahead. We were just sort of always 3 points in front.
And that, if you had got the 12 points ahead, would have broken them.
I think, yeah.
But they grew in confidence, and you had to do a fair old bit of defending. There was some really heavy-duty work.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think it was, you know, when we, as I say, if we did get it wide, we scored. But a lot of times, I don't know, we couldn't get it out. You know, the forwards would grind away, and eventually it was just like stop-start rugby for a while. Nothing was really going our way. And, you know, that was a credit to the Irish side. They knew what they had to do, and they were good spoilers of the ball, and they just kept on driving back at us and having a go. They didn't really not have a go at us, and I think that was the way they wanted to play it.
And we were talking earlier about how useful it is to have wingers who can double up as fullbacks. There were a couple of incidents where you had a good chance, one to counter-attack. Do you remember that one? Yeah,
it was in the first half where Ireland, because they run crossfield, they panic a lot and they seem to kick a lot. And I could see it was either Brendan Mullen or Staples who got the ball, and there was 3 outside against 2. And I could sense they were going to kick, so I dropped back, so he's kicked it. And I picked the ball up at my 22, and I decided to go for a run. And I think I stepped in about 4 or 5 guys, players, and made it to about almost the halfway, put the ball down, and off we went. But I think something happened, and we didn't get very far. But I was about a metre away from the sideline, so it was pointless kicking it out, so why not have a go?
Well, also, I mean, there are those chances where you've got more space in that situation. In a way, it's good ball you're receiving because you have got the whole field spread out. You can see it.
Yeah, well, what happened there, because I had to run backwards and pick the ball up, by the time I turned around, the winger had me cornered. And so I was just sort of running field, and off I went. And when you're running the forward sometimes, sorry about this, John, but the reaction's a bit slower there, so you can sort of get around a few of them, but eventually you get stopped. And, you know, by that time I've gone past most of their players. Now players are going forward, so they just drive over and it's a clean ball for the backs.
And then there was an incident a bit later on that was vintage Campese.
Oh, I've been a bit of a lair, yes. Yeah, in the second half, actually, that was it was sort of one of the situations where, especially one of the tries, it's my second try especially, like as I said, every time we ran it wide, we scored. And this move, we practiced the training. It was the only move we did all week at training. And it was a cut one to the, from the 5'8" to the inside centre, second flight, 5'8" as you call him, to the fullback, who ran straight, and Jason Little would loop him and pass it on to myself, and we scored. It was an easy try. We used it 3 or 4 times. And, you know, as I said, we practiced all week. Bob Dwyer just kept on saying, do it, and we're getting sick of it.
Out to Liner. Boren's pass beautifully into space for Roebuck. Little, and an easy try for David Campese then, his second try of this game. And once again, the Australians showing their great talent and originality in the way that they scored that try.
But what you're talking about is that what happened was I was in the bottom of a ruck somewhere, and I ran back, and Stapleton's kicked it back there, and there was no one back there, so I ran back, and being a bit of a lair, I decided to pick up one hand and kick it out. But you know, I think it's just one of those things, when you are confident, everything goes right, and it worked, and there was no one around, so I knew I had to do the job. But there's no real problem is when you're running backwards to pick the ball up one hand, because you can't knock it on.
That's the point. I mean, it's not actually being flash at all,
No,
is it?
it's pretty simple.
If you fall on the ball, it takes that much longer to get up,
right.
and if you're
and
confident...
you can't really see who's coming from
Sure.
behind, so I mean, you've always got the opportunity. By the time you get it, you can still see out the corner of your eye who's coming. And, you know, you have got heaps of time, and it's not a dangerous sort of thing to try and do.
It all comes back really to confidence in your own skill.
Oh, that's right, yeah. It definitely is. I mean, I could have done it in the England game, try to be a lair and pick it up one hand at school. If I knocked it on, I would have seen it as hopeless, so the safe way is try and kick it.
You spent a lot of time containing people throughout the World Cup, but there were a couple of times during the Irish game where you had to really stretch out your opposite number, Jack Clark, the winger, getting away.
Yeah, I think it's. I think it was twice in the second half actually, where he didn't really see much of the ball right through the first half and probably in the first 20 minutes of the second half. But when we really had to defend, there was a lot of occasions he did get the ball. I think it was twice or 3 times that most wingers try and come in and out. I mean, because I try and beat it on the outside, because if you come inside, you pick up the cover defence. And twice I had him on the angle, and he wasn't going anywhere, and all I did was try and push him in the touch. And it makes our job a lot easier when the opposition run cross-field, the whole back line, because all you do is go up across and you get him on the right angle. And I think there was one that was about 4 or 5 metres from the line, but you know, I don't think he was going to get anywhere. And I had him on the right angle, and all I try to do is not go low, is try and get him ball and all. And one thing that I learnt from playing rugby league was when somebody tries to defend you, your first thing is that you knock his arm out of the way, so you've got him exposed, the whole rib area, and so you just try and take him over the sideline.
Good strike by Steve Smith. Keys to Mullin. The pass to Curtis. Gagan again over from the right. To Clark. Trying to get outside Campese. Just held up though by David Campese there. Good smothering tackle by the winger.
And then we get to the end of the game, and this annoying thing, I'm sure you must have felt almost sort of disbelief that Ireland was still in touch, and that must have become absolute horror when suddenly it was you attacking again originally, and it all went wrong, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it wasn't really in the script that Ireland had to score a try that close to the end of the game, but you know, it was one of those things that should never have happened. I mean, all I did was run the ball and staple and kicked it through. I tried to sort of shadow my winger, but what happened when I tried the ball, I sort of fell off balance, and he picked it up, and Marty Roback tackled him, but back row Hamilton was just flying through, and I couldn't catch him. My legs wouldn't go anywhere. And then I could see that the only one who had a chance of stopping was Rob Edgerton, so I stopped, and Edgerton tackled right in the line and scored. And I was shattered, I think to realise that, you know, Ireland, if they kick this goal, I mean, they're going to put them in front, we're going to be behind with 5 or 6 minutes to go. But what can you do? You know, they made the most of the opportunity and they scored. That's what international rugby's about. If the option's there, take it.
Saunders fields the scrum again then. Gets it away to Keys. Curtis in midfield. Up from fullback is Staples. Little kick into space for Jack Clark. Clark gets the ball. Now he's got support. Charging through is Gordon Hamilton. Has he got the pace to get there, the big flanker? Yes! Lansdowne Road erupts then as Ireland get that fantastic breakaway try by Gordon Hamilton.
But it must have been all that horror that suddenly comes to you that, blimey, we are the better side, everything's now gone wrong, right at the last moment. Almost, how's it happened?
Yeah, but I think in a lot of teams that's happened to them too.
Sure.
I mean, it's you know, they never look dangerous in the whole game, but the only opportunity they get, I mean, they make the most of it. And you know, back and behind the goalpost, it's you know, especially seeing all the Irish supporters coming in the field, it's like they've won the final, and you know, and all the players there going, I can't believe this. And I asked the linesman how long to go. He said 5 minutes. I said, okay, thanks. There was no panic and nothing, you know. And when I think we just sort of realised that we had to sort of get down there and score. So we've kicked off, and the halfback for Ireland should be shot because not putting the ball out. You know, one thing that I found very strange about Ireland was that the 5'8" wasn't to receive the ball or kick it out. He was the main kicker, and yet he was nowhere there. The halfback kicked it out. I found that very strange because in most games you've got Fox kicking it out, you've got Liner, Camembert from France. Majority of the sides have got, or Andrews from England.
You'd work to put your man there.
Yeah, you put your best man there, and they didn't. And Marty Roban received the ball, kicked it long, and the number 8's touched it and gone, you know, and I said, well, this wasn't meant to be for Ireland. And we had a scrum, and I took it forward, and usually I just sort of get out of the rucks as soon as possible, but I could see that, I could feel that nobody was going to rip the ball off me. Someone put it and had it, but I stayed in there. And as long as we were going forward, we were going to get the ball. And then from the scrum, it was the same move which I scored my second try. The same move he used 3 times. But this time, if you watch the tape, Jason Little loops, but the inside centre grabs him. So he can't really get on the loop. And he couldn't support me. So when I made the actual pass my winger, I couldn't run, I had no legs. And I could see that Brendan Mullen was going to tackle me. So when I got tackled, normally the coach will emphasise the try, and we get tackled, place the ball like you're scoring a try near you, so the opposition can't get it. But this time the ball bounced, and luckily when it bounced, Michael Liner there picked it up, and I just looked up and I saw Michael go over. But the funny thing, I didn't hear any noise. The crowd was silent. And I've gone, oh, what's happened? And when the referee awarded the try, I said, oh, well, we scored. So that was good.
Opahengawi controls the ball at number 8, finally releases it. Horan, the pass, Little to Campese, going for his hat-trick. Tackle short, Liner's in there, Liner scores. So the great champions that they are then, Australia bounce back immediately with a try by Michael Liner.
So you knew how many Irish fans there were compared to Australian fans at that moment.
You could hear it. Oh, yes.
You could hear the silence.
Yeah, but it was just one of those things that when the pressure was on, that we could react. We knew that we had the skill and the ability to get down there and not go for a field goal. You know, try and go for the try, and we did.
I mean, that is one of the great strengths of Australia, that there, with 5 minutes to go, no panic,
no,
we can do it,
that's right,
go for it again.
Just go down there.
And what we were saying earlier about Noddy Liner, who should it be to appear outside you?
That's right, yeah, exactly. But I think that I can remember when New Zealand, when they used to get in the opposition 22, if they wanted to score, they could score. And now it's like the Australian side. When we want to do things, we can do them. And it just showed in that final against quarter-final against Ireland.
You have got a tremendous array of set-piece moves, and you do them better than any other side in the world at the moment. I mean, it's an extra confidence that the Australian backs seem to have on them.
I think it's just the combinations, just to understand what we're trying to do. And if you do the moves 100 times, you know, we've been doing the same moves for 5 or 6 years. But if you do them properly, and everybody's very keen, and you're doing them at pace, that's very important. Things happen, and they happen easy. And you know, in the World Cup, you know, it's one of those tournaments where everything sort of went right.
You've said before that in many ways you wanted New Zealand in the final. What was the feeling before the game?
Well, I think that the organisers of the World Cup sort of they did pretty well. They won at least won the 5 nation teams in the final, because you know we knew when the draw came out that if we won and New Zealand kept on winning, we'd meet in the semi-final. And for us, you know, that was the final. I mean, beating the world champions or playing the world champions is like that is the final for Australia. And after playing them twice this year, you know, winning one each, that we knew that it was going to be a big game. But you know, whoever, if we'd beat them, we'd be the world champions. That's how we'd looked at it.
And because they were the world champions, the Irish crowd seemed to take the attitude that you were the underdogs, and the fact that you'd beaten Ireland, and they seemed to really get behind you this time.
Yeah, it was very strange that all the people in the streets, they sort of said, you know, we'd want Australia to win, and it was very strange. But again, it didn't really worry me. It probably worried some of the other guys. But you know, we knew the task ahead of us, and we just went out there to play the kind of rugby we wanted to play.
And right at the start, there's always this dilemma, this sort of argument about what you should do to the haka. It's a challenge that people throw down, and some people say you should take it up. I mean, for the opposition, you must get fed up with it at times, and it was very noticeable that you chose, while the others faced up, to go and just kick the ball around at the back.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, you know, I played New Zealand 22 times, so next time I could probably join them, do the haka. I know it that well. Yeah, but it was up, like Nick said, that, you know, we'll go out there, we'll face our opposition number and face them, but I'm not interested in that sort of stand there. Plus, it wasn't actually a hot day, so just to keep on moving around was the best thing to do. And you know, I'd rather kick a ball around instead of watching guys do a bit of a dance. It's something new to me and some of the other guys. I think if you actually watch the haka again, when the haka was almost finished, Tim Horan just walked away. You know, instead of waiting, he just sort of said, "Oh, I've had enough. I'll just get out of here." So you know, it's up to every team's different. You know, if they want to stand there, stand there. Some teams get in the huddle, and some guys like myself just want to just play for ball.
It's one of those things, I mean, I find it a bit difficult. Why should the All Blacks, if you like, have this extra advantage, if that's what it is, to just build themselves up and the other teams in the world are expected to take it? I mean, do you feel sort of strongly about that or not?
Doesn't worry me, John. I mean, it's, as I said, like, if they want to make a big fuss about it, they can say, okay, you're not allowed to do it. Well, don't do it. I mean, the thing was, against Ireland, there was no national anthem played for Australia, but we got in a huddle and sung our national anthem. You know, I mean, if you want to do something, you can do it. In Fiji, they've got a dance. Western Samoa's got one too. So, you know, I think it just adds something different to a game. Instead of just watching two teams play, there's an extra attraction for the crowd.
Once the game did get underway, it couldn't have gone better for Australia in the early stages, could it?
Definitely. I think that we knew that, especially with the fullback coming in, Crowley, that the combination had been disrupted a fair bit with Terry Wright not playing. But you know, we knew it was a good fullback. But all we tried to do was put the pressure on New Zealand. New Zealand, the team that for the first 20 minutes they want to go out 100 miles an hour, try and get some points on the board and put the pressure on. But we did it in reverse. We went out there 100 miles an hour and put the pressure on them. They were with the winds. Sorry, they were against the wind, that's right. And we just kept on kicking the ball down there and putting the line outs and winning a few line outs and actually taking them to New Zealand and tackling them behind the advantage line. And it worked fantastic in the first half.
Were you pleased they picked Crowley? Because Timu had done very well at fullback.
Yeah, it was very
hadn't he?
strange, yeah. I didn't understand the way the logic behind that, because I think the other wing, I don't know his name, Tinglamali.
Tangaloa.
Yeah, that's whatever he is, yeah. Well, he's, you know, I thought he played very well against Italy, but I know their selections, I probably want the most experienced players on the field, and, you know, we didn't really care about who was playing where. We just knew there was 15 All Blacks against 15 Wallabies, so everyone had to do their job.
And it didn't take David Campese long to really stamp his mark on the game. One of your special tries.
Yeah, I think it was a very strange situation. Michael Liner did extremely well, but he just ran, and I think he ran about 20 yards or 20 metres, and he ran actually up to Grant Fox and got tackled right underneath the post. And our forwards are going forward. It was a great second phase ball, and I just came off the wing and took it off Nick. And the angle I ran at, I sort of ran at John Kerwin because he was the last man, and didn't really worry me who was inside him. But when you run on an angle like that, John Kerwin, there was two guys outside me, so John really had to watch his wing or me. And as I was running, he was watching me, not watching Rob Edgerton. And so I ran on the angle, looked like I was going to go inside him. When John turned, I tried to run the outside of him, and you know, he was sort of backtracking because he was running backwards, but not very quickly, because you had to watch what I had to do. And I was just beating for pace, and in the corner I went.
Yeah, I thought it was a real connoisseur's try, because I'm sure that when you started that run, you were thinking, I've got men outside me. And you actually played it as it went.
I wasn't going to pass it anyway.
I don't believe that. I think you would have done it. But you could see it.
Arose,
you could see it evolve, couldn't you?
Yeah, I think if the situation arose, I mean, as I said, I had Edge, and if John Kerwin tackled me, I mean, it was a pass, easy try for the winger.
Kearns throws one by Eales, Far Jones, Liner steps inside, swallowed by the All Blacks. Far Jones, Campese, David Campese all the way! A great try from the leading try scorer in World Rugby, David Campese, came across and simply skated through the All Black defence.
And then, before half-time, you'd really sort of shaken them to their very roots by scoring another great try.
Yeah, it was one of the situations where it was a set move from the scrum, and something went wrong, and then we had a ruck, and then Michael got the ball, and there was nothing to do, so he kicked to the head, and I just chased, and I was actually going to kick the ball with Kieran Crowley coming, but what happened, the ball bounced up in one hand and sort of transferred to the other, and so left Kieran Crowley behind. And when I got the ball, I could see Timu sort of didn't know, he was off balance, so I decided to run at him and then step back inwards. By that time, I did hear Tim Horan call. You know, he was calling, so I said, well, I'll just keep on going until the last minute before I got tackled. And when you do that, you sort of, the defence comes to you instead of spreading. So when I went out and back in, Timu sort of came in. And by the time that I got tackled, he could see Tim Horan. When I passed over my shoulder, Timu had no chance because he was still coming inward instead of staying out. And all I can remember is I didn't know what happened until I just lifted my head off the ground. I saw Tim Horan score the try, and I said, we scored. So that was good.
Another routine day at the office.
Oh yeah, another day, another dollar, as I say.
Far Jones digs it out. Liner, little chip ahead. Horan's going to chase that, so's Campese. Campese gets it in his hands. Campese, David Campese, dodging both ways and feeding Tim Horan. Horan to score. Tim Horan scores for Australia. A marvellous try, and it all came from that man, David Campese, yet again.
But great satisfaction. I mean, a lot of people thought that pass was a sort of hope and a prayer, but it wasn't at all, was it? You knew it was there.
On a wing and a prayer, it's called the book, John. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was just one of those things that You know, a lot of people say, well, how do you do it? And I said, well, I mean, it's easy when you know someone's there. It's very easy. And Tim called, and I said, it makes my job a lot easier to know I can do what I have to do and not panic. And when someone did tackle me, I mean, all I did was throw it over my head because I was facing the right way and it wasn't going to be a forward pass. I was just throwing backwards, and Timmy was there.
And then one of the things that impressed me about the game was the Australian discipline in defence in the second half. The All Blacks threw absolutely everything at you. In fact, they probably played their best rugby of the tournament, I thought.
Well, I think if you look in the first half especially, like, Grant Fox didn't have a kick goal.
No.
We just were disciplined enough not to give any penalties away. And again, after we scored the second try, New Zealand attacked that line for 10 minutes, but they couldn't score. And I think that was what won the game for us.
That
New
was
Zealand
a vital
knew,
time, wasn't it? Leading up to half time.
Definitely. New Zealand, they knew by then that we've got a lot of work to do. And they just say in the second half, like, starting off giving 3 points, and I'm saying, here we go, it's the same old story, you know, they'll get within 3 points of us again. But, you know, the defence was just great. I mean, they tried everything, and I said to John Kirwan after the game, actually, that, you know, when the pressure was on, New Zealand kept on throwing the ball to John Kirwan and say, mate, do something for us. You know, it was very obvious every time. He was the only one that made the break.
And he tried his heart out, didn't he?
He tried very hard. I mean, I felt sorry for him because I've been in that situation before a few times too, and I know what it's like. You try everything, but nothing seems to work. But our defence was just, you know, nothing could have beaten our defence that day.
And everybody had to buckle under and do it. You had an interesting few duels there with John Timu. He's a new guy to you.
Yeah.
Did you find him an awkward customer?
No, not really. I think it's when you, as I said, especially on being in the wing, when you got the right angles, like running, when you're in the right angles, it's very easy. A few times that when he did run, I had him every time. And I think there was one, like I was right in front of him, he saw me, he decided to cut inside because he knew there was no way around me. And I think that's the situation or the time that you know that your winger hasn't got a chance. You know you've got him.
You feel you've actually, good,
yeah.
I've got the right thing into his head. In Australia in the summer, but you must have felt that was not quite the same as the way you'd beaten Wales, because that was a tougher match than it seemed, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I think it's, you know, to me, England played very well in Australia. We knew that they were the Five Nations champions, and to me, when they came to Australia, to me they looked a bit cocky because they're the champions of the Five Nations. They thought, okay, this is going to be easy. But that day, they played very, very well. They ran the ball at us, and they did extremely well. But again, Australia were the better team.
Yeah, they played particularly well that day. And come the final, as always, you were pretty relaxed at the start. What's the Australian sort of build-up in the dressing room? Some coaches really get you going and try and work you up.
Yeah.
Is it fairly cool in Australian dressing rooms?
Yeah, I think it's Bob Dwyer has a lot to say before we leave the hotel, and Bob Templin has a few words to say. But when we get to the ground, it's you know, just go through what you want. Bob will come through sometimes and say what he'd like to see happen on the field and all that. But Bob Templeton's got to the stage with me, like, we always have a bit of a joke in the dressing room, so we try and make each other laugh and smile and have a good time. But other guys are really serious and concentrate, and then we stretch inside and sort of, you know, have the backs and forwards, have a chat, and then go out to the field.
But that's very much it, isn't it? You've got to feel right when you get out there.
Yeah.
Some guys do like to be steamed up, but you really do like to be very relaxed.
Oh yeah, I just get out there and sort of look around, see if I know anybody in the crowd, and say hello to them. But as I said, like, everyone's different. You just take it very casually and get out there, and you know what you have to do and do it.
And although you were never going to take England lightly, you must have been very confident.
Yeah, the thing that I was really worried about, and I spoke to Nick Farr-Jones on the Monday or the Tuesday, was that for us, New Zealand was the final. You know, I mean, I think it was really badly organised that Australia used the two best teams in the world play in the semi-final, not in the final. And, you know, mentally we were very exhausted after the New Zealand game. We put so much effort into it, training-wise and whatever.
And in fact, you didn't really play nearly as well, certainly,
No.
as you did in that first half against New Zealand.
Definitely not, no. We, you know, I think what inspired us a bit was, you know, like reading Will Carlin's interviews in the paper like Captain Marvel, and there's not a team on this earth that can beat us. I mean, for me, you'd never say things like that before the final game. You can say it afterwards.
Yeah.
But, you know, we actually, talking about the actual game, it was very funny that we went out there and we knew how England would play, and like I was bagging England about the way they were playing, and I knew that they were going to run the ball, prove me wrong, and they just couldn't do it. And, you know, when we did actually get the try, it was like, okay, we're in front, let's stay in front. That's all. It wasn't like, let's keep on going at them. And we never really looked that dangerous. You know, the try we scored was a try because it wasn't really, you know, we didn't really work hard for the try. It was on those tries from the line out. It just happens. You know,
An absolutely freak two-handed catch at the back of the line and over.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, you know, and we went back and Nick said, like, you know, it wasn't how we wanted to score the try. It was a try, you take it. Okay. And, you know, as I said, we hadn't played it all well. We were sort of waiting more for England to try and do something for us to actually attack them.
Very few memorable back movements. The one real chance in the first half of a try actually did fall to you, and for once your soccer ability let you down a bit.
Oh, definitely. Well, it's never been that great anyway. But actually, what the good thing about that move was that right through the tournament, Marty Roebuck had a bit of a problem where, because he caught the ball and there was someone in front of him, he'd always hold on to the ball. He'd never pass it out. But on this occasion, he caught it, and it was a great pass. He caught it and straight through the hands to me. And when I was on, I saw Webb was coming at me, and the only way to go was over the top. And when I kicked over the top, I was on the run. I knew all I had to do was the ball to bounce up. And when I was about to kick the ball, it just went on the side. And it was just one of those things. I mean, what can you do? I mean, sometimes they work. Against New Zealand, the balance was perfect. But again, also, the way I kicked the ball, I knew it wasn't going to sort of go back and up. It was going to go a different angle, because I sort of kicked in a bit of a hurry because Webb ran very quickly.
It's when you start asking those questions, isn't it? Whoever came up with that stupid shape for a rugby ball.
Definitely, yes. But I mean, that's just how it is. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Picks it up cleanly this time. Far Jones trying to create space. They do it for Campese. The chip through, and Campese, he's in the lead.
And then during the second half, although England had never looked fluent when they tried to move the ball, as you say, they hadn't done it enough, and that was perhaps their problem. They did on several occasions actually get to situations that looked as if they might give them something to go for. There was one situation I remember where the ball went out to Rory Underwood, and you two had a little sort of tussle before the ball got to him, but then suddenly you were adrift. Were you worried then?
Yeah, because I was trying to shadow Rory, but what happened, he got past me, and then I've turned around and Rory's got the ball and he stopped. And I found that very strange, because once you're behind the opposition, you just go for it. And I found it very strange that he didn't take off. I think he was probably shocked that there was no one in front of him, and but you know, they're the situations where you just got to make the most of it, and I don't think Rory made the most of that opportunity, actually. There's a few times, actually, that he got the ball. There's a few times England backs had an overlap all the time, but they kept on cutting back in, because they didn't seem to have the practice or the skill or the confidence to run at somebody and pass. They always ran across field.
But somebody like Rory, who, I mean, I think even you'd rate him as extra quick, wouldn't you?
Yeah, oh, definitely, yes.
What does that come down to when he doesn't go for it? Confidence?
Yeah, I think that I think he could have been shocked that he actually got the ball. Because watching in the Scotland game, like, I can remember he let out the team because it was his 50th test. And after the game in the dressing room, they said, oh, it was a special presentation, and Will Carlin threw Rory the ball. And I was thinking that's the second time he's touched it today, because he ran out with it and he got it in the dressing room. So I think it was more of a shock that he actually got the ball in a situation where he probably hasn't been in for a while. In the first half, they tried to move where they threw the ball to him, but it was a shocking pass from Carlton went over his head. So, you know, I think it was they were trying to do things when they weren't really adapted or used to doing it all the time, like fluently.
And then there was the final incident,
Oh, yes.
of which I guess a lot of people in England would look to and say, "Oh, well, we could have won still because of that." I mean, how did you see the incident of that?
Well, I think if you ask
interception?
any player in that situation what they would do, and I reckon 100 out of 100 would do the same. They would actually say and actually do the same as what I did. Like I could see, actually Winterbottom I found 2 or 3 times in the back line, and I found it very strange because it gave me time to drift off him onto Underwood because he wasn't very quick. But when I saw that Winterbottom was there and Underwood, and I was going, oh, I better come in here. And I just went for the ball and all, and the ball went down. The referee was in the right position, and he penalised me. So, what can you do? You know?
Was there enormous elation at the final whistle, or a little bit of a sense of
Relief?
relief and we've done it?
Yeah, I think I was near Michael line and I said, oh, we've done it. That's all. I was in my mind, okay, let's get the game over and done with, and that was it. It's a very strange feeling. But you know, when you go up and get your trophy and whatever, it was good. It was a moment that I'll always remember. But you know, it wasn't the world's greatest performance by Australia, and you know, I was probably disappointed. I think if we played the way we wanted to play and we had been playing, it would have been more points. But I mean, you never know. Finals there to win. You know, there's no second prizes.
All went pretty well as it could do for you.
Yeah, I don't think you could sort of ask for like a fairy tale ending to a story, could you? I think it's, you know, we knew that we had a great chance to win the World Cup and actually get into the final, being there at Twickenham, to beat England at Twickenham. I think, you know, Australia, England's always been very, very competitive in sports, and you know, we're the prisoners that England sent out years ago, and we come back to haunt them there. And to actually beat them there and you know, sort of knock them back a bit after being the Five Nations champions too.